They don't experience music at the same level as a musician, or they only experience music through listening rather than experiencing music through making music, creating music, or working with music in any sort of way. Can you hear me in the back? Do I need to come up some more? Okay, awesome. So what I tried to do was incorporate a unit of using technology in something that these students may eventually be able to use, either in a church setting, at a setting like this, at a setting where in a business like the Expo Center, that they can actually know how to turn a microphone on and off and adjust the microphone in various ways. So we use this through some live sound and some recording, setting up through events. Excellent. Parts of sound, these are some of the things they learned that they didn't know, and maybe you don't know either. Some different parts of sound equipment, different cords that are used. The XLR cable as opposed to the 1/4-inch cable, as opposed to this mini plug that goes into the Mac that comes into this splitter that comes in to channel 2 on the board. Now, there are lots of technical things that they have to learn throughout this process, putting together the equipment, rolling the cords properly. Did you know there's a proper way to roll a sound cord as opposed to rolling a extension cord around your arm? And in fact, you roll it like a lasso so that when you toss it out, the whole thing will come unfolded. So we learned how to roll a cord. Of course, they're not very good at it, and neither am I, but we learned how to do it. Learned to mix sounds. Have you ever looked at one of these boards before? There are like tons of buttons. You can see every channel has its own series of buttons, and every button does something different. So many times when we look at that, we're really confused by what it's supposed to do. I could probably mess with some things, turn up the low end, and you can hear me turn up the low end. Now I sound like Barry White. Hello. All right, and so there are lots of things that you can do with a different channel. If you're having feedback, how many of you have been in a situation where you've heard somebody have feedback? Squealing. The pitch of the feedback will determine where the frequency is that you need to take out of the mix. So I just turned up the low. If I were getting a low end feedback, I would turn down the low, and it would change the sound, or I would turn the low back up. If I was getting a high-end frequency feedback, I could turn down the high end or turn the high end up. I can turn the high end up to make a more clear sound. Can you hear that better? So you can tell a difference in the changing of these things. These are the things that our students, that we worked on with them. I'm sure the person doing this live feed's like, quit messing with the board. Okay. Speakers versus monitors, what is the difference? Microphone types. This is a dynamic vocal microphone. It's an SM58. It's the industry standard. There are also, if you look on stage, when you see the choirs perform or the singers perform today, you'll see condenser microphones. You'll see AKG C1000S's probably that gather sound more readily instead of in just this area, but a larger area. Microphone placement, how does that work? I had a student trying to mic up a drum set, and it was like drum set here, it's like, what do you want to hear there? What are you really pointing that thing at? So eventually we got it down to the bass drum. And I was like, oh, so you just want to hear the bass drum, nothing else. Like, yeah, that sounds fun. Okay. Anyway, feedback elimination blues recording project, next. We went to, one of the things we did with one of these general music classes is we talked about the blues. And we've been in kind of a blues year this year, not because we're sad, but because we did this gala project where we worked on learning about the blues, and we highlighted the blues in this performance. They learned to compose an AAB lyric for a 12-bar blues form. It's musical terms. Using the program Band in a Box, students selected a style. They kind of worked as a producer. They selected the style, the tempo, the instruments, where the solos were. And then we had, since they don't sing, and you don't want to hear them sing, the general music students mostly, we had some jazz band singers sing in their lyrics into the recording. So they sung in the lyrics into this recording, mixed it in. And then the students listened to the works, critiqued, and were able to revise the works just a little bit. Yeah, I won't say anything about their sappy lyric composing. It's pretty awful, but it was okay. We'll move on. Okay, so at the end of the project, we just looked at some things. I just did a quick survey of the students to find out what they enjoyed, what they didn't, what was the best part, which best describes how working with the sound system affected your engagement in your music learning. As you can see here, the very much, that it affected them very much, average to very much in their music learning. Do you feel that you learned more doing the hands-on sound system project than participating in the traditional class setting? Now this is pretty overwhelming here. They really liked touching things, manipulating things, working with things, plugging things in, although they were awful at it. They got better, and they really enjoyed the process. Rate your interest in learning more about sound systems. Average to very much is a high percentage that they enjoyed that, or they have interest in learning more in the future. What are the chances that you may work with a sound system in a real-world setting in the future? Now here's something that I would maybe change. They think it was the majority was average to little. It was kind of spread out throughout, really. They could possibly have more opportunities to do that. When you look at an event like this, where there's one of these set up here, there's one set up over there, there's one set up down there, there's a huge one set up on the stage, there are lots of opportunities that maybe they don't know about. So something I could highlight are maybe jobs in the profession, or instances when you may need to turn one of these things up, and you look at all those buttons and you don't know which one to push. Earlier, this thing didn't come on, so we came up and unmuted it. We found the unmute button. There, I'm back. Okay, so those are just things that is good in general for people to know. What was your favorite part? Plugging it up, learning what all the knobs did, working with the soundboard, that's always fun. Watching some videos. They enjoyed doing the part, where the wires go, what kind of wires there were. And conclusions. Students felt that they learned more with a hands-on experience. The first experience was frustrating, but they became better with discovery. It's that whole confused to clarity kind of idea. Students felt more engaged when working hands-on. Most students had a future interest in working with sound systems, and about half of the group thought they would have an average to better chance of working with a sound system in the future. So that was my project, part of my project on sound systems. And I think the students enjoyed doing that a bit more than learning to count rhythms or whatever they would normally do. All right. Thank you.